Good morning. Marjorie Elizabeth Davis Townsend went by many names during her long life. In her early years, others called her Marjorie and Marge. At age 3, when asked, "What is your name, sweetie?" she answered with, "Maudie Bliblob." I learned this story as an adult, and from then on, my telephone calls to her often began, affectionately, of course, "Hello, Maudie Bliblob." And I was rewarded with a pleasant chuckle. She was also called Mrs. Townsend, Mama, or as a young mother, she often heard, "Mama." Dad called her honey and dear, and eventually she was called Grandma. In the last few years, when visits came from her son-in-law Sheldon, they always exchanged the same affectionate greeting. "Hello, teacher." "Hello, farmer." Marjorie was born at her parents' home in Emporia, Kansas during a nighttime thunderstorm. The electricity was out, so her first appearance was by the light of candles and a coal oil lamp. Florence and Verl Davis raised 5 children in Emporia: Ruth, Robert, Marjorie, Esther, and Jacqueline. Esther and Marjorie were only 2 years apart in age, so they became the best of play partners. They also loved to play with the neighborhood kids, hopscotch, Red Rover, and on weekends they'd zoom down the sidewalks on their state-of-the-art strap-on metal roller skates. Entertainment also came about by listening to the Victrola or to sports and radio drama broadcasts on their big Philco radio. When the Great Depression hit, they moved to a farm near Emporia where they rode horses and did chores for fun. Chores for fun? If you can believe it, one of Mom's fondest memories was washing dishes in their home. It wasn't really the washing, it was the singing. Esther and Mom, and sometimes Bob, would sing and wash dishes. They'd harmonize and make beautiful music, and they'd try to get each other off tune and just have all kinds of fun. They'd sing and wash until the water got cold. Then they'd warm it up again and keep going. The Davis family were members of Emporia Friends Church, and as a teenager, Marjorie loved going to church camp at Camp Wood, which is now Camp Quaker Haven. She also enjoyed music. Both Mom and Esther had been fortunate as children to be trained in the music laboratory of Kansas State Teachers College in Emporia, where they took piano and singing lessons. In their 20s, Mom sang in a trio with Esther and cousin Elaine Sheridan, which traveled throughout the yearly meeting performing for special events. And for many years, she also led singing in church. She passed that love of music on to her family, who followed her example of playing instruments, singing in groups, and then passing that love on to the next generation. After high school, Mom earned a lifetime certificate in Emporia to become a teacher. She continued her education at Northwest Nazarene College in Idaho, along with Esther, who had married Herschel Thornburg. They and friends Roscoe and Tina Knight, Tommy and Arlene Thompson, and others fell into a group which also included Roscoe Townsend from Colorado. Marjorie and Roscoe struck up a relationship and eventually got married. It was then she began her life's occupation of being a minister's wife, a teacher, and a mother. They pastored at churches in Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, Nebraska, and Iowa. In the late 1950s, Roscoe attended seminary while Mom taught school in Kentucky. He received a master's in divinity degree, and she earned what she called her PhD, or putting hubby through degree. It wasn't glamorous, but it certainly was busy and fulfilling. Pastoring in small churches brought with it parsonage living in various situations. Mom recalled living in one house which had been partially converted from an old chicken coop. The church had fixed it up quite a bit, but when it rained, chicken coop. Teaching full-time while raising 4 children made for a busy life. Summers were filled with not only tending kids, but also caring for a huge garden. On top of that, she continued training as a teacher, completing her bachelor's degree at William Penn College in Iowa. Vacations were usually camping trips to Colorado, where the family met up with relatives, and often Mom became the camp cook.
And here's the grandmother, the matriarch, excuse me, cutting up cantaloupe.
As a teacher, Mrs. Townsend was both caring and firm. Teaching was a significant part of her life. While teaching in Haviland, she was awarded a certificate from Kansas University recognizing her for over 25 years of teaching. Kids loved Mrs. Townsend, giving her many notes and cards and gifts. She remembered that one of the most unique gifts was given to her in Kentucky, a whole batch of frog legs. And after she retired, she received letters from several students telling her that she had been one of their favorite teachers. And as for her children, she was our favorite mom. She was loving, steady, and strong. She taught us how to work, to be responsible, to take pride in a job well done. She played with us, laughed with us, soothed our tears, cooked countless meals, and provided a safe home that allowed us to grow and thrive. That safe haven also extended to her grandchildren, Shelley and Chad, who lived just across the backyard during their childhood. They were often at Grandma's where she loved and cared for them. She also taught them life lessons. As kids, they sometimes did exercises with her. And she also taught them home skills, such as how to work in the garden and process vegetables. Mom often laughed about the time in high school when Chad felt he'd learned enough and exclaimed, "Grandma, I just don't do green beans anymore." They consistently visited Grandma and Grandpa and even lived with them at times during high school and college. Her other grandchildren and great-grandchildren who lived miles away remember her hugs and stories and spoiling them with special candy treats when they came to visit. In recounting her life, Mom wrote, "To me, motherhood is happiness." And she held on to many happy memories of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Some distressful memories, helping her children through times of sickness or family troubles, turned into expressions of thankfulness for the faithfulness of God to bring her family through those difficult times. Her long and loving marriage to Roscoe ended with his passing in 1999, a marriage of over 55 years. She lived in the family home for several years after that, then moved into home again here in Haviland. A wonderful new home with new friends and delicious food. There she loved to visit and to hear of the travels of friends and family, especially if the travelers brought back a spoon to add to her prized collection of spoons from all over the U.S. and throughout the world. She also kept track of events at Berkeley College and visited with students, even making notes after visits so she could remember them. Along with those notes, she regularly kept a list of people that she thought of and prayed for. And when visitors came to her room, she would reach into a dresser drawer and pull out a chocolate or marshmallow treat she saved just for such an occasion. She also was an avid fan of Kansas sports teams. If they were Jayhawks, Wildcats, Shockers, Chiefs, or Royals, she tuned them in. And when NCAA March Madness rolled around, she kept a bracket and cheered on those Jayhawks as they chalked up the wins. In May of this year, Marjorie and all her children were able to be together for the last time on this earth as we celebrated her 98th year. She told family stories and laughed and sang with all of us, reminiscing over good times spent together. And now we say our earthly goodbyes in different voices. Goodbye, Marjorie. Goodbye, Mama. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Mother. Bye, Grandma. Goodbye, teacher. Goodbye, Marty Blidblob. You loved us well, and you were greatly appreciated and well loved in return, and will be for years to come.